It's reasonable to believe that US dollar will keep on depreciate against Singapore dollar. Not to the extent of 5% every year. I don't think that will happen. But I also don't think that you should spend every dollars of your money, because actually what you lose out is not the money part, it's actually the experience. So to me, it's like, it's a form of stability, right? So to me, I really, really appreciate that now. Especially you have kids, definitely you want somewhere stable. At first, I was thinking that, okay, just get some ETF, just have, like passive. It's okay as long as I'm not overly concentrated to Singapore, right? Invest in the companies with good fundamentals, good business model, right? You just want to own it for like long period of times, right? I'm not like looking for companies like 10x. I really focus more on like the quality. As long as the business model is good, you need to be aware that, okay, that PE doesn't mean that you have good cash flow one. You see the earnings, you don't see the cash flow because they have to keep building fabs, right?
How it changed your mind? Welcome back to Chills with TFC. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut, and today we are in studio with another fire story, right? Once again, I say very hard already. Left a few people only. So if you have an interesting story, please email us hello@thefinancialcoconut.com. We hope to tell your story, right? So I think this guy is probably not too unfamiliar to a lot of you that are in the circle, actively consuming personal finance content. But we had a casual relationship. We know of each other as an existent, but we have never really chatted, right? And the day he was like, hey, maybe I can come on the show and share my story. Then I was like, tell me your story first. So you wrote a whole long... I've not received such a long WhatsApp message in a long time. And I was like, here's a story. So I'm very excited to introduce all of you to Bunti. For our audience that don't know you, could you introduce yourself?
My name is Bunti, so I'm working in financial industry and have been creating YouTube contents for almost 4 years plus already. So
why you do YouTube contents? It's such a horrible business.
it's not really, I don't see it as a business. It's more like just at financial forums, especially like telegrams, groups, right? Looking at people's talking about stocks, talking about investment. So I feel that people, when they talk about investment, they are not really investing. They're actually doing a lot of tradings, buy, sell, looking for what's the hot stocks. For example, now it's people talking about AIs, right? I was like, okay, come on, at least you need to know what is the difference between investing and trading. So I just feel like I need to share try to encourage people to invest for the long term, see the stocks that they invest in as a business rather than just trading in and out. So I think it's important to have that differentiation.
Most people in this space, if they're not from a big financial house, right, actually they don't make a lot of money doing all this content. You know what, right? Like, you make a bit of copy money, you really don't need to bother this thing, right? So in other words, right, most people that create content in this category really care for the content and for the category, and I don't know why, because there must be a story there. So why you are so passionate about this thing, such that you will waste so much time doing content? Yeah, can you share a little bit with us?
I always joke, right? Actually, how much I earn, right, is even lesser than someone who works at McDonald's. So per hours, definitely much lesser. So not doing that to earn money, but maybe just to use it to know more people's, this kind of relationship. I think is good. But I think it all comes back to the heart, like really wanted to share. I think that's more important.
What's the drive?
First thing is that I really passionate about investing in stocks. So I think all sorts of investing topics, say for example, even talking about investing in passive ETF, as long as it's related to investing, I'm very, very interested.
Because?
I don't know. People like to watch drama. I like to watch stocks.
Watch the market.
Watch market. Yeah, it's a bit like merging entertainment versus like research, and also through that we can embed more like socials. I have group of friends who are also investors, so we exchange our opinions on stocks, do these kind of things. I think it's fun. At the same time, building portfolio to me is like, it's not really just for the sake of like having more money. It's about like living it, Yeah, building a portfolio. I really enjoy that.
Before we enter into the investment, the discussion, and how he fired and all those things, right? I mean, that's what everyone wants. Everyone wants to know how do you fire here in Singapore, okay? But maybe for a start, give us a bit of a backstory of like, where do you come from, and then how do you end up here, and all that stuff.
I actually come from Malaysia. So it's a small town called near Kuantan. So Pahang. It's near Kuantan. It's 1 hour from Kuantan. It's actually one place called Pekan. From that, and then I studied in Malaysia also, in Selangor. So then I worked in KL for 2.5 years. And then
What do you study there?
I study statistics. So I like maths a lot. Try to get into actual science, but not able to get into. But getting a statistic course with National University of Malaysia.
UM. Is it got
UKM.
different? UKM.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Then work in KL for 2.5 years. After that, I worked in Hong Kong for a year. Then after that, come to Singapore. So when I started in Singapore, that was 2013.
Tell me a little bit more about this like shift, right? Okay, it's not uncommon. I mean, you work in finance. Everybody around knows that confirm got some Malaysian sitting next to you, right? It's very, very common. But everybody come with a different set of stories, right? So how did you go from like working in KL 2.5 years and then like jumping and then coming here? What's the thought process?
The good thing about the skill set, right? Because when I work in Malaysia, that 2.5 years, right, I pick up some knowledge about insurance business in areas related to actuarial science, right? So that was actually quite demanded skills. So that's why when opportunities to work in Hong Kong, right, I was thinking that, okay, I got no chance to study overseas. So it gives me opportunity to go overseas to work, right? So I think that's even fun, right? Because to me, it's like Hong Kong, I know about Hong Kong since young because we watch all these like drama, can speak a bit Cantonese. Then I was like, wow, that would be fun if I'm able to work there. So I worked there 1 year. Actually, I also quite like it. Although people say that, okay, the space is constrained there, very small.
Is it true?
It's very true.
It's true,
It's very
right?
expensive. Then the reason I came to Singapore also because my wife was pregnant, and then to me it's like, wow, that kind of space in Hong Kong is really hard to survive.
Impossible, yeah.
And then we don't have family support at all, right? So I was thinking that either I come back to KL, or if not, then Singapore is also quite near to my place. Because actually from my hometown to KL and to Singapore, it's not that different. It's about like 4 to 5 hours. Maybe to KL, it's slightly nearer.
Your wife is Singaporean?
Malaysian.
Okay. And both of you are already naturalized citizens.
Yes.
Okay. We'll talk about that later. Give our Malaysian friends a bit of tips. How to naturalize. Actually not difficult. Like you work in a good career, you know. So, then you know already. But I do want to dig a little bit into this whole like small town individual that kind of go out, join a growing industry in a big city, and then go to an even bigger city, and then kind of doing that whole move, right? And for our Singaporean audience, maybe they don't get it because they're born and bred into a big city already. There's no real need to really understand, there's a dynamics to this thing, right? But for our Malaysian friends that are tuning in, or even Singaporeans that are going to other places to look at the world, right? And not just, 大城市 problem, right? All the big city life, right? Can you tell us like how did your life kind of evolve and how it changed your mind, from a small kampong and then you go bigger places? How does that journey look like?
Yeah, I think it's quite fun in a way because even when I just moved to Kuantan, right? You can imagine I moved to Kuantan from my very small town called Pekan, right? That was when I was 15 years old. So I was staying with my cousin. That is also a transition really because when I was 15 years old, right, I can't speak English at all. It's like small rural place, right? So even I went to Kuantan, it's like, what my classmates, right? It's like they speak English to me. It's like, wow, that's new to me. So that's why I was like, wow, it's something new, something challenging, like new environment. Then I think I kind of like enjoy that. It's like trying new place, acquiring new skill. I think for Malaysian, the advantage is really on the language side. Because if you talk about like technical skills on anything, right, you can acquire that through your studies, through working experience. That one, I think everyone have their own strength, right? Or like their knowledge. But when you pair it with language, I think that's a win because like Hong Kong, right? Whenever you go, you wanted to speak the local language, right? So to me, it's like, okay, just immerse in it and then just pick up as much as possible. So I think the adaptability is very important. Then now you see I come to Singapore, so I adapt really, also speak English. Right?
So how does that transition to like Hong Kong look like then? From KL, you go there, what was happening, and all that?
Actually, it's not that different. Because talking about, of course, culture-wise, there will be some differences. Especially, let's say, like here, you can just chop your place with a tissue. Hong Kong, you cannot do that, right?
They will take a tissue and use.
So this kind of culture, you realize that every places have their own culture. But I would say that once you adapt to it, you just become the local peoples, right? It's not that difficult to blend in. So have to embrace the local culture.
But were you already like very investing, very prudent back then, or like how was it? Like,
let's say first 2 years, 2.5 years in KL,
yeah.
in Hong Kong, those period, right? I don't think I earn a lot. Like, it's really like, still very junior, like low salary in Hong Kong. I still have to pay my rent. So not easy. Like just to save a bit, yes, there's some saving. But when it comes to investment, got do a bit, but not really meaningful, not really sizable. So that's why some people say when you're young, don't save too much. Just, enjoy life. Just get as much experience as you can. Then after that, when I think the real savings came, maybe it's like 5 years after you start working. So I think that one you can see that, okay, as your career progress in the career, right, then salary become higher. So I think we'll be able to save more.
So you agree with that?
I agree with that. It's just that I would say that the challenges is different because by the time you are, let's say 30 years old, right, I think the stuff that you wanted is very different already.
Of course.
So the lifestyle inflation will come in. And how do you fend off that? I think is not easy. Some people will just say that, okay, I look at my colleagues, I look at my friends, they are all, upgrading, stay condo, have car. So then you also think that this is normal. You also do the same thing, right? So chances is that might be saving rate could be still low, right? So I think definitely if someone can have some passion in investing, right, then every time you say, okay, before I spend this money, right, I rather just invest this money in a companies that I really like, right? So I think that one at least give us some reason to save more, right? So I think that helps with the financials.
Okay, but today if Gen Z come to you, Gen Z start work already like when the younger Gen Zs, right? Yeah. They come to you and then like, I don't make a lot of money and I want to like experience life and all that, right? Because it's quite a divide, Yeah, there's some people that really you must start from scratch, from the first dollar that you make, you must save, must prudent, must everything, and then compound, right? And there's some logic to that, but I don't think there's enough airtime to the other side, which is, when you're young, you actually, it's marginal. You don't get to save a lot, so it's not very meaningful when you so-called compound, from a market standpoint, as compared to if you spend well, experience life, get to know a lot of people, and then you can get your like the kind of like sweet jump, in your career, you would swing to the latter.
There should be a balance, right? Because let's say if you say, oh, I want to save a lot, I just, earn, let's say $3,000 and then I just try to save 2,000, right? Then if you're doing that too much, right, in terms of life experience, you're getting like cut off a lot, right? I think that's not worth it. But I also don't think that you should spend every dollars of your money, because actually what you lose out is not the money part, it's actually the experience. Because like, for example, let's say you're investing, right? You have to withstand the volatility, right? Up and down. So if imagine that, let's say you do no investment at all until you are 40 years old, right? Suddenly you have, let's say like 500,000 of cash to invest, right? At least allocate a portion, do some DCA or whatever. At least you kickstart first, and then you have a taste of the market. Then you try to get used to volatility, right? I think that experience is very, very valuable.
So it's not mutually exclusive, right?
Yeah,
you can start early, but don't like squeeze yourself until you don't experience life, right? So then, when you came to Singapore, from my understanding, it was already a different phase of life, right? Like the kind of money that you're making, all those things were already getting to a different level, right? So can you help me describe that phase of very jialat at first, work very, very hard, finally got some experience, can get a better job. So how did that look like?
Yeah, the first few years when I was working in Singapore, actually it was tough in the sense of like my family is not here because my wife still stay in hometown, right?
Oh, so your wife never joined you here?
Yeah, so I only rented a room here with a owner seat, then just me alone, right? So I was traveling quite often back to Malaysia, taking bus like twice a month, so do that kind of things.
So you take a bus,
Take bus.
And the bus is horrible.
The bus.
Not like, okay, when you're in your 20s, okay lah, not so bad lah. Your 30s, wow, here pain, there pain, I cannot, this doesn't work.
It's like Friday after work, right? Straight away,
oh my God,
go
you're
bus
one
stations.
of those.
Then Saturday morning reach hometown, right? Then Sunday night come back, and then overnight also. Come back early morning, Monday, then go to work. Because there's no work from home back then, right? Luckily it's only like 5 year-ish. Then after that, around end of 2017, 2018, I was, okay, safe enough. And also there's this rule said that, okay, if you want to buy HDB, you need to be PR for 3 years, right? So I was waiting for that also. So after that, bought HDB in 2017. Then only my wife and kids move here. Yeah, so that is like a big upgrade.
You got your PR, that one cannot discuss openly. Like how to get a PR, that's a grey zone. But like, when you bought the flat, right? Can you tell me a little bit? Because I think maybe some of the Singaporeans may not know how PR get a flat. How does it look like? I thought it was a good opportunity to talk about it. Do you get any grant? Do you get what can you buy? Is there any limitation? Must you have a wife that is here? How does this whole thing work?
To buy HDB, I think we need the couples need
there's a
both to be
family
PR.
unit,
Yeah, family units.
okay.
So we were both PR, so under one applications, right? So I got the PR quite early. It's just that 3 years to a bit of time just to wait, right? Then in terms of grants, no grants at all. And then can only buy resale, cannot buy BTO. Then I still need to pay the additional stamp duty, right? So the normal stamp duty, 2 to 3%, plus 5%, there was like 8%, pay out in cash. So I think the rules is still the same.
As a PR, when you buy, you need to pay additional stamp duty,
yeah.
5%.
Yeah. But so
okay,
how to reduce the cost, right? I was trying to save a bit. I don't want to buy like the expensive one. So I try to get somewhere a bit far from town.
Where's your first place?
It's at Sembawang.
Sembawang.
Yes.
Okay,
so about 1 hour from here. So
yes. Sembawang is 1 hour from everywhere. Go JB faster. How much do you spend, if you don't mind saying, back then? How much did the resale flat
how much is
cost?
the resale? So 2018, close to 400k. It's a 5 rooms flat. So I think the size is decent.
400,000, 2018, 5 room in Sembawang. Okay, interesting. But you thought it was worth it? You think it's okay?
Yeah.
Why?
To me, it's like not so much about like profiting, right? Like I don't care about the resale market because to me, it's like I stay there, right? So it's like I take it like a long-term lease. So I don't have to move. You don't have to chase out by the owners. So for those who have this kind of experience, they know how tough it is, right? Like you're busy with work, still your owner chase you out. You have to look for units. Not easy. So to me, it's like it's a form of stability, right? So to me, I really, really appreciate that now. Especially you have kids, definitely. You want somewhere stable. Then kids also, their school is nearby. So to me, it's a good place.
After you settle down with your house and all that good stuff, your family is here, everything is sweet already. Then from my understanding, that's when your investing journey became a lot more serious. Yeah. So can you kind of expound on that?
Take a step back, right? Right before I bought my HDB, right, I was like saving, I don't know, maybe few $1,000, $3,000 or $4,000 per month. It's like all my savings all goes into like, okay, need to pay for the down payment, right? So that was the crazy period. That is like the first goal, right? It's like you save for something, then you know that money cannot go elsewhere, right? That's why I would say for stock portfolio, take a back seat now. So have to settle the house first. Then after that is done, right? Then it's like, okay, no more like immediate commitments. So my money is really like saving for like longer terms, right? Like retirement. That's where like, okay, now I have my place. The new fresh saving, right, will deploy into the stock market. So that was when I invest more seriously.
At that point in time, when you bought the house, all your capital was in the house, is it?
Yeah.
So then you liquidate the stock market and just it's the house.
Yes.
And then how did that investing journey then took a serious turn? Yeah.
So before that, the non-serious one is like, okay, sometimes you've got a bit of money, buy some REITs, buy some local stocks. So I have those experience. So the amount I say is like probably still, like 5 digits kind of amount. Like a bit of some like a small portfolio. Then after that, once the house is done, right? Then after that, every month, then I open up a stock brokerage account to invest in US. I started about end of 2017. So then it's like suddenly learn like this entire new world about like US stocks, right? So to me, it's like it all started out like gradually. At first, I was thinking that okay, just get some ETF, just have like passive. It's okay as long as I'm not overly concentrated to Singapore, right? So that was in the beginning. Then after that, around 2018 and 19, I tried to explore like doing some stock pickings, bought some like Berkshire, and then after that, it's like during that 2 years, right? I had ex-colleagues we chat a lot about like all these investing topics, right? Then I noticed that actually when it comes to stock picking individual companies, right? I think that we really need to buy companies with good fundamentals, like quality companies. And that's when I pay most like serious attention to like business model. Don't before that I was like just looking at companies and say that, okay, PE is low, buy low PE, that kind of things. Then I think it's really around 2018, 2019, I have these realizations that actually, even if you buy low PE, when the PE become like revert back to normal, right? Then you have to sell already. Then it's very hard to differentiate trading versus investment. But when you invest in the companies with good fundamentals, good business model, right? You just want to own it for like long period of times, right? So I think that kind of like philosophy really built out around 2018, 2019. So and specifically, I'm investing a lot in US companies, quite a big exposure into all these technology stocks also. That was like, there's some change in terms of the style, right?
Hey, welcome to the Financial Coconut Podcast Network. I'm your host, Reggie, aka your Chief Financial Coconut. And if you're loving what we're creating here, like, share, subscribe, share with your loved ones, comment in the comment section below. And yeah, we'll see you for great content on Chills with TFC. Why did that change actually? I mean, you talk to your friend, of course, right? But then like, why? What do you observe? What's the thought process?
One thing is to realize that actually all these so-called US companies, they are not just operating in US, right? Say one good example is like, okay, talking about Apple, right? I think some people say, oh, Apple just phone company. But actually, if you try to understand the business model, you realize that actually it's not just like selling phone. You realize that actually people who bought Apple's phones, right, iPhones, they will just keep on buying back iPhones again. It's very rare for people to switch around between iPhone and Android, right? Then the other thing is all the ecosystem things. Like all these things, right? To me, it's like you cannot just study one product and come to a realization. You really need to know the story behind it, how they set up the companies, how they trap you inside the ecosystem. So to me, it's like once you understand that, then you will appreciate the quality, and then from there you will know that, okay, all this PE is not important. The important thing is really the business model, how stable it is, the moat, right? Buffett used to say. So I think that one is like needs time to understand. This one really is not just like Apple, right? I'm just giving one example, right? Each of the company that I invest in, right? I really need to know their culture, their business model, what's the edge that they have against their competitors, what kind of environment they are in. So there's a lot of things to study. But I'm very slow. I'm not like, study 50 companies a month because there's still work commitment, right? So these kind of things like really take time to study. One company potentially can spend months, right, just to look into it.
Maybe give us a bit of color on like what was your best performer?
Now AI stocks, right? The best performer is
Nvidia.
Nvidia. Yeah.
When did you enter?
2020.
Why?
That was where I realized that the companies, right, is already doing data center business, but people don't see as like AI companies or data center companies. They still see Nvidia as a GPU doing gaming business. In fact, you look at the breakdown of the business, right? You still see that gaming part it was larger compared to their data center. Data center used to be very small, but I saw that the trend is like, okay, this is getting bigger and bigger. It looks serious, but back then, 2020, still ChatGPT haven't come out, right? So there's no AI narrative yet. The blockchain came first, and then they also sell a lot of all these cards for people to do mining, right?
To do mining.
Then after a big crash.
Yes. You made the decision to enter at that space because
I just think that there's like potential. And when I think this kind of potential is like that something is coming. Like you can see that the data center is getting bigger and bigger, but then people don't realize it. So I think there's a mismatch, right? So I see as companies that have a huge potential in data center, but back then I still don't know about large language model, these kind of things. I'm not into that, right? But once the ChatGPT came out, right, then the entire space is different. Just follow their fundamentals and just hold on to the convictions, not selling. Because I think two things, right? People tend to sell. One is like when they panic, right? So when they're scared, there's this news about AI bubble pop or anything like that, right? People panic. The other thing is actually when the stock just shoot up by 200%, right? You also panic sell one, So this is quite common. So to me, it's like at the same time, okay, have small portfolio getting larger, and then the other thing is like, okay, you have to understand the fundamentals is really there. Don't sell, just holding on it. So that's why my philosophy is to tell people don't sell.
So when do you sell?
I didn't.
Hold
on until now.
I mean, okay. You see, that's why you fire, right? One thing can fire already. Tibo?
No lah. It was a small position, and now
it's two things, right? One thing is stop working is one part. In your current structure of life, can you fire already?
Depends.
Actually, should be okay, right?
But for me, I think in terms of commitment, I would say that the difficult part is the family, like kids. So, for example, let's say kids study, how much do we have to spend, right? So that one is like something that I know is coming, but I'm not worrying about it for now because they're still young, right? So once that's done, then maybe can like plan in more details. My elder son just finish his PSLE.
Oh, congrats.
The younger one coming next year.
You would say cost of parenting, is it very high here? Just a slight side.
In terms of meal, in terms of school, is not a lot. The one that we spend like more, for example, is tuition. Tuition, I can't tell you what's the amount because it's kind of a mess. Because I realize they don't charge like every month. I don't pay every month. They are like, okay, you sign up this for don't know how many class, then we pay 7,000. So bam, 7,000. so it's like quite a number of class Then I'm aiming for two kids. To me, it's like it came like a one-off. So it's like the extent, right? It's not like I send my kids for tuitions like every day. We have like 2 classes per week for 2 kids. So
it's considered very chill already, huh?
very chill already, yeah. To me, it's like very chill. But I think my wife is like, she's the one that thank a lot, really. Like she spent quite a lot of time just to coach them.
Coach them, huh? Yeah. Back to the FIRE, the portfolio building exercise, right? So given where it is today, your portfolio, which you have just reviewed, right? On your channel. Then maybe you can review here also. What is the size and what is the composite so far?
The first one that is NVIDIA, is about like 20%. Then followed by like the other is quite close. Like I have companies in semicon like TSMC, Apple, Microsoft, Tencent, Google. So yeah. And then followed by ETFs also. I have some ETFs.
Would you say that the assumptions are still intact? Because like you said, right, news cycles drive some of these things, right? Which is true. News cycle drives a bit of buy sell exercise. But in a current situation where things are what it is, you still believe that there's a lot more room for these things to grow because their PEs are all very high, right? So like what is your position on some of these stocks that you hold, and why you continue to hold them? And this is not a financial advisor. I'm just trying to understand how Bunti thinks about his portfolio at this point in time.
To me, it's like, yes, in terms of growth, right, it's still there. I won't deny that. I mean, valuation wise, it's kind of rich at the moment. We have to look at like which companies, right? If we talk about, let's say, NVIDIA, right? The PE is actually not like super excessive. If you look at their growth, is still like quite high, right, at the moment. So really, I think just recently I saw some video from Adam Khoo. So he plotted the chart, right? This is the price, this is the earnings. You can see that the price track along with the earnings. So like since I bought the stocks, right, it was like from the first time I bought until now up 20 times, right? The PE is about the same, because the earnings went up by 20 times, right? But I don't think that it will go up another 20 times in the next 3 years. That is not my base assumptions. It's more like if you look at the entire space and then you realize that in terms of where are we now, right? We are still early in all these AI related applications, right? So there's still plenty of rooms to grow. The only things that it might happen, which I expect to happen, is that there might be some slowdown in growth, and then that might actually make the stock price deep. That could happen, right? But for me, like I hold for 5 years already, I foresee myself continue to hold for at least another 5-10 years, right? So I don't time. Like I can't time when it peak, when it drop, but just continue to hold on.
One more question on this investing part, right? Is are you the type that constantly look for multi-baggers? Is that how you invest?
Not really.
Okay.
I don't even look for companies that outperform the index. Sometimes people say that, oh, you do so much and then your performance is like track closely with index. Why not just indexing, right? So I'm not like looking for companies that 10x. I really focus more on like the quality. As long as the quality is there, even they grow at, let's say, 8% per year, right? And I know the business inside out. Sometimes even if the share price drop, I know the quality. I know they might be facing some environment issues or whatever, right? To me, it's okay as long as the business model is good. So, but this one, some people say, oh, business model good. What does it mean, right? But if you look at, let's say, like thousands of stocks that's available, right? Actually, there are many companies that don't have good business model. I mean, one good example is companies like in commodity type of business. Say, for example, like airlines, right? If you study airlines, they are like, continuously in price competition with each other. You look at their margin, it's like sometimes they are swing. It can be go up like 10+%, then go back down to 5% again. So just single digit margin kind of business, right? It's very tough, So that kind of companies, I was like, okay, after you do this kind of screening, right? Actually, very quickly you can screen out like out of 10 companies, right? Maybe it's like 9 companies go up, straight away go out, like out. no good business model. Then the one that's remaining like, out of 10, right? You continue to study. Also, you might say that, okay, maybe have some issue here and there, not a good buy. Or some is like, not a good buy now, maybe valuation seems a bit high. So it's like that kind of filter. It's not easy, you know. After you do the filter, right? Not many companies fit into my portfolio. That's why I'm very picky.
What are some of your filters?
Margin is already one good filter already. Yeah. The other one is that some companies, you can see that they have a lot of earnings, but then no cash flow come out one. So they earn and then they need to reinvest, which includes some of the companies in the AI space right now. Because say, for example, let's say if you operate a cloud business, right? You have some earnings, then you have to deploy back your earnings just for capex, right? If not, you lose out to your competitors, right? So got no choice on this kind of business. They got no cash flow.
What is your take on this type of business? Because it's, if you invest long enough, you will see some of these things, right? So this type of business, right? What is your take when they dilute you? So when companies come and say, okay, we're gonna raise more money in the market, we're gonna dilute, or we're gonna like bring in strong management and then further dilute, you know, these things all happens, right? How do you see this? How do you evaluate this?
I think it depends on the reason. But first thing, let's say if the company say we are issuing new equities, right? Just to beef up their balance sheet, right? First thing you need to ask, like, what are they doing there? If let's say it is for expansion, I think it's fine. But as long as you believe that expansion makes sense. But I think there are many companies, they dilute for the sake of dilute. They dilute just because they can't operate within their current business. They have problems there. So this kind of business totally, like, I try to avoid now. But even for those companies that have good earnings, but still they don't have cash flow to pay out, right? It's also a question mark, right? So that kind of companies I still invest in. Like one example is TSMC. You look at their PE, sometimes it's like, okay, PE now is quite high, but when their PE was reasonable, was decent, right? You need to be aware that, okay, that PE doesn't mean that you have good cash flow one. You see the earnings, you don't see the cash flow because they have to keep building fabs, right? So you want to discount a bit. PE of 15 for company A versus another company's PE of 15 can be totally different. So we need to do like the analysis, try to understand the cash flow to differentiate. Cash flow is like one way for us, like margin, earnings, cash flow. These are various metrics for us to understand, to screen, to know whether there's a good business model behind that.
The perennial question that I would love to ask every single person that is investing a lot in the US, is what's your take on the US dollar, right? Do you care about it at this point in time, or like how are you doing this thing? Yeah, just give us some color.
This year, I think USD versus Singapore dollars is already down probably about 5% or more or less.
Yes.
So you can see that, let's say if your portfolio only go up by 10%, minus that 5% is left with 5%, right? Yeah. So it's a big hit. If you look at long term, right, we should, just studying Singapore monetary policy versus US monetary policy, right, it's reasonable to believe that US dollar will keep on depreciate against Singapore dollar. Not to the extent of 5% every year. I don't think that will happen. Let's say we talk about average, it could be between 2 to 3% every year on average. So some year they might be appreciate against Sing dollar, some year it will depreciate, right? On average, I think 2 to 3% is gone just for that currency. But when we invest in stocks, let's say if your stock portfolio can only earn, let's say 5%, right? That's a bigger problem, not the FX problem. Let's say if we talk about like S&P 500, long term, they can earn, let's say like 8 to 10%, right? If having 2% in terms of the currency depreciations, right? I think it's still okay. You just need to factor that in.
Like if I want to make that 10%, 12% in the US, then I depreciate the currency at 2 to 3%. Then it backs into question the assumption of what we're doing, right? But we're not having a position. Just trying to let people think, right? Yeah, think about it. I think this is something that is increasingly a thought, right? So yeah, this currency depreciation across the board, there is a history to that. With that story, right? Are you doing anything about it?
No.
So you factor that into your strategy already.
Because there's no easy way to manage this, right? Because you can say, let's do some hedging on the FX, do some fancy stuff, right? Hedging also come with the cost, right? So after, it's either you pay it via depreciation, which I expect about 2 to 3% a year, or you pay the cost 2 to 3% a year. Upfront. So
you manage the depreciation by not having a bigger depreciation, right?
Yeah. And one more thing, I think many people don't realize this, right? I think comparing Singapore dollar versus US dollar, right? US dollar still have slightly more this characteristic of flight to safety, meaning that, let's say if there's some volatility in the market, right? I think US dollar will strengthen against Sing dollar. So, and that actually helped us in terms of the volatility of the portfolio. The advice is usually don't put everything in US dollar, right? So I think when we say US dollar, sometimes it's like, okay, you have a US brokerage account, allow you to buy USD tickers. But when you invest in many of these companies, they could be in Europe, could be in Hong Kong. It's just like, I think the point is more like get out from Singapore because of diversifications, right? Because if you look at Singapore, out of the total world GDP is only very small, right? In terms of market cap also, I believe it's around like 1%. So do you really want to just limit your options to that 1%, or do you want to look outside, right? So I think it's more about like opportunities now.
Last question. Okay, maybe today a fellow, Malaysian professional, like a similar story with you lah. I mean, now you are naturalized, you are a citizen. Hey, are you a citizen? You're a citizen already. So you're a naturalized citizen. But if let's say a Malaysian, with a similar background, and then they come here and grind it up with many of them. Okay, like grind a few 100,000 of working professional Malaysians here in Singapore. Yeah, so. Can you share with them your thought process, why you decide to be a Singaporean?
For those who wanted to like say, oh, I just come here to work and then after a couple of years, I want to go back to Malaysia, I think that's perfectly okay, right? And I think Singapore is also okay, right? Usually share in the sense of like share how do you live, like how do you manage like financial, this kind of thing. I think there are many things to talk about now. So say for example, let's say, I think one thing is about the lifestyle. Like let's say if you really prefer driving, you prefer looking for good foods, then you still want to go back to Malaysia, I think that is perfectly okay, right? Perfectly fine. But let's say if staying here, families here, kids studying here and just want to settle down in Singapore, to me it's also fine, right? It's just that I think for those who stay in Singapore, right, you need to be okay with, say for example, like now COE, what, 140,000, right? That's crazy. So for me, like I'm quite similar to contractor, right? I'm sure he mentioned like he don't like keep the lifestyle very modest, no car, take MRT. If you are fine with this kind of lifestyle, right, to me it's like with the career here, actually you can save quite a fair bit, right? And you can take the money, go spend on vacations. I think still can be having a good life, good life in the sense of like you're still living a modest lifestyle. I stay HDB. To me, it's like everything perfectly okay. To me, it's like my dream life already. I'm not expecting more. But for those who are like, oh, I'm not satisfied, I want to drive car, I want to stay condo, I want to upgrade to landed. So I think it's a bit pressured if you push yourself to that kind of extent. So it's about like choosing the lifestyle that you want. Yeah, you can choose a more comfortable one.
Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being vulnerable. I asked you all sorts of things and you also answer. Very good spot. Okay, yeah. Thank you. So if our audience enjoyed the episode and would like to get to know you better, get to know your channel, your ideas better, where is a good place to go?
Yeah, just my YouTube channel. So just my name Bunti, and then I've X account, so also just my name. So
great. I wish you well.
Thank you so much.
All the best for second kid PSLE. I know it's very stressed. But you have chosen your life. Welcome to Singapore.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. If you enjoyed today's episode, like, share, subscribe, and go to our website, thefinancialcoconut.com, to put your email address there so that we can reach you directly, route out the algorithm. Because sometimes I want to tell you, we got an event, we got this thing, we got that thing, then we got to fight with the algorithm to get to you. So it's easier just to go to the website, put your email there, and then we hope to see you at our next event. Yes, and I know I say many times, hope to see you at the next event. We are planning a lot of events. They will come, okay? Meanwhile, take care. I hope you enjoyed today's episode of Chills with TFC. We'll see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.